All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If anyone is not familiar with my channel, I tank a lot in this game, and tanking is like my biggest passion. I absolutely adore tanking. It's the thing I love doing the most, and I just recently released a video on the Bulwark tank. Still loving that spec, but Zen just put out the massive tank updates. Now, I haven't really looked at this super in-depth, and there is a lot to go over, so this video is going to be a little bit on the more lengthier side. It's not going to be as scripted. There will be a follow-up video to this video where I go deep into what I think about the tank changes and the ramifications of them and potentially new things. There'll be a lot of high theory and math in that one, but this one is just going to be all hype, all first impressions. It's going to be super awesome. So if you want to wait for that secondary video where I go a little bit more in depth and things are a little bit more concise, that is fine as well. So, heroes. Remember that overwhelmingly upvoted player poll about a tank rework. I don't remember. Wait, yes, I do, because I voted up. So anyway, so this is a video. You guys can watch it on your own. I've already watched it. So let's just go over the written material. Fierce Smash. Before getting into the tank updates, something has happened with all heroic and ascended raid bosses. So automatically not going to apply to Flex, which is really good for those beginner tanks. It would be absolute nightmare giving them more mechanics to deal with. So that's very good. I've learned a new attack called Fierce Smash. Just like Fierce Blows, Fierce Smash are unavoidable and pierce through absorb effects. They also deal up to 50% increased damage. As if that weren't enough, they also apply a debuff whoever is directly hit, increasing their damage taken by 5%. The debuff lasts for the rest of the encounter and it stacks. Scared, you should be. Awesome. Okay, active mitigation. Luckily, raid bosses aren't the only one getting buffed. The update brings new type of defensive mechanic to the game. Active mitigation abilities are short CDs that you as a tank can use to protect yourself against fierce smashes. Some of the most iconic defensives have become active mitigation abilities, and new one taught with a new epic mystic enchant will be added to fill any gaps. With this update, these abilities have been upgraded and now are an integral part of your kit. Shield block. So it reads as exactly the same, increase your chance to block, and block value while active critical block value is doubled. Now, it does say down here, existing talents and enchants that interact with these spells will be updated. This alone seems pretty insane. So being able to get up to 50% on your block value. Now, I don't know if this value is doubled with the RE in mind, because if I remember right, the RE actually adds the 3% additional to the base of it, which would then get doubled as well. So really, really big there. Frenzied Regeneration reduces damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds. When this effect expires, you will be healed for 50% of the damage taken while active. This one seems really interesting. So it's not as strong of a mitigation, it's only 20%, but then being healed for 50% of the damage taken while active. So I'm wondering if that is, excuse me, 50% of the damage taken of the 20% reduced, if that makes sense. So I'm wondering if it's going to go off base damage or after modified values. So interesting. Mocking Blow, a mocking attack that forces the target to focus attacks on you for 3 seconds and increase your chance to parry, okay, by 20% for 3 seconds. With the Iron Will talent, this also doubles the amount of damage you stagger and absorb. Wow, why all damage taken, okay. So even more buffs to stagger. Ooh, man, that's insane. Okay, Holy Shield, nice. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough, so excuse me. Increases chance to block by 100% for 3 seconds, sick, and increases the armor you gain from your shield by 250%. Yo, that's sick. Okay, while active, your Ardent Defender talent can protect you from dying ones, regardless of its cooldown. So you basically just get an additional Ardent Defender. So that's cool, I guess. Holy Shield being turned into an active mitigation. I'm not really sure if I really agree with that. Holy Shield is kind of just like a buff that kind of defined prot paladins originally. That, you know, warriors didn't have. Now that it's kind of like an all shield tank skill, we'll see how we'll see. I'll have to see how it plays, but that one I don't really agree with. New epic enchant, fortifying mixture, reduces physical damage taken from monsters by 30% for 3 seconds. That's cool. So they're actually adding an epic enchant. So I'm assuming this means you just like chug a potion. That's cool, because I remember way back in the day in one of my videos where I would theory craft REs, I came up with an RE that would increase the effect of flasks by like, I think 10% per. I'd have to go watch the video again, but that's cool. I'm assuming that has something to do with flasks, whatever. All of these abilities last for 3 seconds. They all share a 20-second cooldown. All of them are off the global cooldown. Aside from their defensive effects, there's other features that make all these abilities extra powerful. While they're active, you become immune to the buff from fierce smashes. Right off the bat, I will say that if they're increasing unavoidable attacks by 50% on certain bosses, it does not matter what kind of damage mitigation you have, you will still get absolutely hammered. Just touching briefly on that, because of the fact that you can also get these stacking buffs that go up to 50% more damage. So if you happen to go against a boss that, I don't know, has any sort of debilitating or disabling mechanic where you can't use an ability, you get feared, you get knocked back, anything where you can't actively click your buttons, they're probably going to get a Fierce Smash at some point during the fight. Now, just talking about the release version of Fathom Lord Krathus in SSC, on my shield tank, when I had full tier 4 Biss, he was melee white hitting me for 14k. Now, if you increase that base damage by 50%, that's going to completely overcome any other additional defenses you have. You could have Dispersion up and Shield Wall and whatever else. You'd still get hit for an absolute metric ton of damage. And if you happen to have 3-4 stacks of this thing, I could easily see the base damage of that attack being like 30k. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I'm very wary. Mitigating smashes. Part of the upvold poll is making tank gameplay more focused on actively mitigating incoming damage in order to stay alive. You're probably beginning to see how this fits together, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's a pattern to fierce smashes, of course. That won't be that bad. So here are the details of how fierce smashes will work and how to mitigate them. When in heroic and ascended difficulties, bosses cast Fierce Blow, they gain a stack of Fierce. Upon gaining 3 stacks of Fierce, typically taking 20 to 25 seconds. Okay, so I'm wondering if it has to deal with an internal timer or if it's going off any kind of increased attack speed effects, because again, Fathom Lord Krathus or anything that has an enrage mechanic, I mean, whenever they cast a Fierce Blow, so the more attacks they do per second, the more Fierce Smashes. We'll have to see how that plays out. When the Secure Fierce stacks are replaced by a buff called Smash, showing that a Fierce Smash is about to come. And this is time to use active mitigation to soften the blow. If you do not have active mitigation up, you get a crushed debuff, increasing damage taken. Okay, failing to time your active mitigation may not cause you an instant wipe. It can, but it definitely won't be pleasant. Tanks looking to withstand Fierce Smashes in Ascended difficulty would do well to hone their skills in heroic raids first, since the Ascended version of this will be extra punishing. Okay, cool. Predicting Fierce Smashes and timing your active mitigation to protect you from them is a way you as a tank to become involved in your own survival through the encounter. Okay, learning to do so reliably will help your raid bosses go down and set you apart from other tanks, but will require practice, attention, and careful execution. Okay, so just touching on this really quickly. So tanks were already almost on cooldown cycling their CDs, like shield wall, dodge, dispersion, things like it. Maybe not dispersion, because that's kind of like your big oh shit button. But tanks were already in Ascended difficulty, especially when like we're doing Realm First stuff, we're pushing like at the very start of releases. They were already hammering their cooldowns as it was to survive, so they were already taking an extremely active step to try to mitigate as much incoming damage as possible. So depending on how much these Ascended Fierce Smashes do, I could see this potentially not working in their favor. We'll have to see. For a long time, shield tanks have done very well in dungeons and other content where they could rely on their ability to block to protect them. Correct. When faced with raid boss and their powerful block-piercing Fierce Blows, their main line of defense no longer worked. With this update, that's about to change. Okay, so I don't want to hark on this for too long. I don't want to sound like a salty shield tank, but I and many other people have been saying this for literally since like the very first day Fierce Blows were introduced into the game, because they completely negated the entire point of being a shield tank. So I don't understand why it took them so long to get here. Like, you ask anybody who has done heroic or ascended as a shield tank and it feels awful. So I mean, I'm glad they're fixing it now, but I mean, it's well overdue Fierce blows can now be blocked just as with stagger and absorb effects. It pierces through 50% of the block amount. This means blah, blah, blah. Okay. Fierce blows can no longer miss. That alone, depending on how fast the boss hits, what his base damage is, just being able to block a fierce blow and then having it not be able to maybe miss on the second one is potentially a damage increase that you take over the time. So again, we'll have to see how this plays out. From today on, blocking attacks would be just as effective as staggering or absorbing them. This goes for both fierce blows and the new fierce smashes. With the 50% pierce, this will be a massive increase to Shield Tank's ability to withstand hard-hitting raid boss. Yeah, we'll see. As a consequence of this, one of the fundamental aspects of gearing Shield Tanks has changed. This gets a little bit technical, but it's important. Perfect. One of the unique things about Shield Tanks is that they can cap their avoidance. By reaching 102.4, combine dodge, parry, block, and chance to be missed, they push normal hits off the attack table and will never take an unlimited attack. Correct. Since such a big part of surviving as a tank is about smoothing out your damage intake, being immune to unmitigated hits is a huge advantage. Fierce blows being blockable changes this situation. Since they can't be dodged or parried and cannot miss, the 102.4 avoidance cap doesn't apply in the same way. Instead of needing to reach the cap with a combination of dodge, parry, miss, and block, you need a whopping 102.4 block chance in order to push unmitigated fierce blows or fierce smashes off the attack table. That's really cool, okay? Aside from being virtually impossible, getting absurd amounts of block would also mean overcapping yourself against normal hits, which wouldn't feel good. In order to smooth out this progression, the following change has been made. Defensive Stance and Righteous Fury also increase your chance to block Fierce Blow and Fierce Smash by 60% while active. Whoa, really? So just a flat 60% chance to block. Okay, so just on my guy alone, sitting in town, I have base 35% chance to block already, so this would put me at 95%. Do these stack? Like, if they stack, they've completely counteracted. I hope to God you guys didn't make this stack, because you literally counteracted your entire mechanic in one sentence. So either way, with Defensive Stance or Righteous Fury sitting in town and Holy Shield, and plus this, I'll be like at 140% chance to block. Interesting. Okay. This change aligns the avoidance caps for normal and fierce attacks closer so that shield-wearing tanks will push unmitigated attacks off the table at roughly the same point. This means that you'll be able to gear normally and not have to worry about different avoidance caps for different types of attacks. Oh, okay. If you want to fully optimize your character, you would likely want to go 102.4, blah, 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 just as now. In order to do so, become protected against fierce blows. Okay. The impact of these changes on Shield Tank survivability, especially against raid bosses, will be massive. Fierce attacks being blockable marks a new paradigm for these tanks, but it's not the only paradigm changing Shield Tank upon in this update. So, I mean, I'm glad they're addressing it now, but I could have told them, and I did, like 9 months ago when they introduced Fierce Blows, that it was going to destroy shield tanking. So, we'll see. New shield tank archetype. Beyond the Fierce Smash changes, this update also lays the foundation for a new hybrid tank archetype. Righteous Fury has been transformed into a powerful stance for magic-based defenders. Sick. Tanks looking to spell sling, and defend allies will now be on a force to be more of a force to be reckoned with. With a solid foundation in the Protection Paladin and Protection Warrior trees, boosting their survivability, these tanks are free to explore other build paths to achieve that perfect combination of defense, offense, and utility. But first, let's look at the basics. Righteous Fury is now a bar-changing ability and reads as follows. Increase your total armor by 10%, increase your spell damage by 30% of your stamina. Okay, cool. While this stance is active, your threat generation is significantly increased, but your overall damage is reduced by 10%. That's fine. Shield of Righteous now available level 1. What the fuck? Are you serious? Yo, wait. Okay, this ability, oh, dude. Oh, dude. That's sick. I've literally been waiting for Shield of Righteous to come out as like a legendary RE or something, or even an epic one, like how you get Phantom Knives. It's a level, dude, it's available at level 1. Dude, you do not want that thing to be a level 1. That's insanely powerful. Okay. Wow. This ability deals holy damage based on your block value, 70% coefficient, and spell damage, 30% coefficient. If used when you're below 75% HP, it also heals you. What? It also heals you for an amount depending on your level and spell damage. Oh, okay. The conversion to stamina spell damage from Righteous Fury will significantly help shield tanks look to incorporate magic spells into their abilities. Probably not. The addition of Shield of Righteous provides magic-based shield tanks a powerful alternative to Shield Slam, and it's a core aspect of these magic tanks' defensive toolkit, self-healing. Okay, so just initially, I'll tell you right now, yes, okay. So in Flex rating and Mythics, this will probably work. You could probably do anything in those environments and make it work. Heroic, not as much. You start kind of weeding out some of those, what we'd consider like a meme build, not something that you'd really realistically take into higher tiers. I can promise you that no matter how much self-healing you have, you take this into Ascended raid, it's not going to matter. So right off the bat, Shield of Righteous is just going to be another Shield Slam. And like, I'm not going to complain about having another better Shield Slam. So, I mean, my rotation is going to look even more Shield Slam, so that's pretty cool. The new tank archetype excels at using both magic against their enemies to bolster their defenses. Touch by Light has been reworked and now reads as follows. Being healed by others has a chance to increase the effect of direct heals cast on yourself, stacking up 3 times. Okay, so you get a 30% self-healing. When fully stacked, your next direct heal on yourself will shroud you in light, healing you for 20% of the original heal each time you take damage. Okay, I mean, the joke of being like a self-healing tank, like actually casting heals, is not gonna work unless you like give some sort of RE or something that lets your healing spells deal threat, because I can promise you in 99 out of 100 situations, a proper tank is not gonna wanna waste his GCD on like a flash heal. If you could do a Shield Slam or a Devastate or a Revenge, there's no point of doing it. So we'll see how that works out. New Capstone Divinity, being healed by others causes your inner light to flow through you, healing you for an additional amount based on your spell damage. Okay, with these talents, you do not have to choose between magic damage or survivability. Instead, increasing your spell power also translate into increasing your survivability. The synergy created by this change means that venturing beyond class boundaries to incorporate magic effects into a tank is much more powerful than ever before. I mean, you tried that with, you know, the what is it? The Stormhammer tank, and that thing sucked ass. So yeah, we'll see. So here are some of the magic changes aimed at giving these new magic-based tanks sufficient support so they truly can rival the power and utility of more established tank archetypes. So before we go even into this, I don't know if any of these changes have been maybe inspired by some of the stuff that I've suggested. I mean, I made a whole video about like how Prot Paladins suck and REs throughout the last year of making videos about this, about how to make these tank specs better. So if any of that has come out from anything like inspired from what I've said, that's awesome. We'll have to see how this plays out, because it seems again kind of like they're really trying to force something that just won't work, but we'll see. New Protection Paladin, level 10 talent, improved concentration. Concentration now deals instant holy damage to nearby enemies, causing extra threat and slowing their melee attack speed by 20% for 15 seconds. Okay, so basically it's a thunderclap, but holy. I mean, that's cool. New Epic Enchant, Echoing Power, increase the threat of your Shaman Shock abilities by 30%. Okay, Frost Shock already has an inherent base threat multiplier. That's pretty good. In addition, the Booming Echoes Capstone now also grant additional effect depending on the shock you use. Earth Shock, reduce damage taken, not going to be worth it. Frost Shock, increase your threat generated by 6 per second. That's pretty damn good. And then Flame Shock, deal fire damage to attackers when struck in melee. So, depending on the amount of scaling they give that Flame Shock, I could see that being pretty good for like a Thorns Paladin or a Thorns tank. Reducing the damage you take from physical attacks by 4% is not going to probably be worth it in the end. I would much rather use Frost Shock almost at all times. If this was like 14%, then maybe, but I would take 6% threat over 4% mitigation in most cases. Soul Leech now also makes the affected spells reduce the target's attack power by an amount scaling with your level. Okay. Spiritual Attunement has been moved to the second row. In order for these tanks to feel distinct from the more physical defensive stance shield tanks, some of their core talents are tied to their respective stance. Touch by Light and Divinity, as well as Holy Shield, Shield of Righteous, now require Righteous Fury. In addition to Shield Block, Shield Slam, and Damage Shield, Critical Block, and Shield Mastery now require Defensive Stance. Okay, they're basically making a clear delineation. This is Holy Stance for tanking, and Defensive Stance is Physical Stance for tanking. Okay, I mean, I'm glad. We'll have to see how it plays out in the long run, though. That's pretty cool. The separation now only applies to a handful more iconic boater. Okay, these tanks, there we go. These tanks already have very good options for legendary enchants. I would argue against that. With this update, some of these are being adjusted and a brand new one is being added. Okay, Crimson Champion. Now it teaches you Holy Shield Crimson when you know Holy Shield instead of transforming the spell. This means you can have Holy Shield Crimson active and use Holy Shield at the same time. In addition, Shield of Righteous can now trigger Champion's Wrath from Crimson Champion. You have normal Holy Shield, or the Crimson one, which is, I'm assuming it gives you the 10% flat and then gives you all those bonuses. And now Shield of Righteous can now trigger Champion's Wrath from Crimson Champion. So I'm assuming that like they're changing the Shield Slam portion of that to Shield of Righteous. That's pretty cool. And then you can use the Holy Shield as active mitigation on top of that. Okay. So Bulwark, I'm not seeing any. Not seeing any change to Bulwark. If they're making this Crimson Champion specifically for Holy Tanks, they need to make Bulwark exclusively the Shield Tank, or the Physical Shield Tank RE. They need to do something to update that. The base and scaling of Concussion Blow Stormhammer has been increased by 30%, and the Stormhammer buff can now also be triggered by Hammer of the Righteous. Okay. In addition, the duration of Storm Shield buff has been increased up to 10 seconds from 8. I haven't really tried Stormhammer myself. I just know it's not very good in the higher ends of things. Being triggered off the Hammer of the Righteous seems interesting, considering this is like a lightning-based spec, and then they're just randomly, again, just throwing in like another ability. I mean, like, I get it, it's a hammer, that's a hammer, but this is a completely different school of magic. Okay. New enchant, Templar of Fire. Okay, here we go, dude. Transforms your Seal of Righteous into Seal of Fervor, dealing fire damage to your target. Okay. Unleashing the shield's energy will deal fire damage over 3 seconds. If cast on an enemy afflicted by your Flame Strike, this damage will spread to all enemies within 8 yards affected by any Flame Strike. By any Flame Strike. Okay. Oh, well, okay, so okay, I was thinking, because, like, you have to hit them with Flame Strike, but it says affected by any Flame Strike. Interesting. Okay, so they need to either change the wording of that or make it work how I said it, because it's saying, like, you have to hit them to get the effect, but then it immediately counteracts itself by saying any Flame Strike. If it was any Flame Strike, that would actually be pretty cool. While Seal of Fervor is active, your holy and fire damage may have a chance to reduce your damage taken by 6% for 10 seconds, 30% proc chance. Your Shield of Righteous and Avenger Shield ability now have a chance, 75% within a 5-second internal cooldown to trigger your fire starter talent. So initially, seems cool. Doesn't seem like it's ever gonna be good enough for anything besides flex, which is totally fine. I'm really happy they're giving options to the people who don't aspire to like do the ascended rating, because honestly, it's exhausting and I can see why people don't want to do it. It's fucking exhausting rating ascended sometimes. So I'm glad they're giving some stuff to like the lower tiers of rating that you could just go in there and have fun. I would like to see it be a little bit more powerful. The biggest problem with like spell tanks traditionally is you sacrifice things to increase spell damage, spell scaling, and trying to increase threat of spells that don't have an inherent threat-based multiplier like Shield Slam or Revenge. So you end up spending so many talents on just getting the build to function, to hold any sort of threat, and then you're just a wet paper towel for a tank. So it's cool. I could see this potentially being more of a DPS RE, which is cool. I mean, we'll see. Okay, so another major cluster of changes coming to bear tanks, who with this update are getting a lot new and more powerful tools at their disposal. They're really getting buffed between getting more options for what abilities use and some big buffs to their weakest talents. What? Big buffs to their weakest talents. Okay. They're also getting a serious survivability boost in dungeon and lower level content. No, dude, no. Okay, let's just finish. I'll talk about it later. Savage defense now reduce the damage you take from the next 3 physical hits up from 1. Okay. Damage reduction is equal to 5% of your attack power plus 5% of your health instead of only scaling of attack power. This change accomplishes 2 things. First off, and most importantly, helps bears fend off multiple attacks at the same time. The old design lasting only for 1 hit did not do very well in scenarios where bears got hit by many fast attacks. The other effect of this update will be that Savage Defense no longer requires sacrificing stamina for huge amounts of agility, with three chain charges and an absorb amount scaling with health. It's a great defensive tool without pushing bears to give up their massive health pools. Okay, so I'm gonna spend a little bit on this. Okay, first off, I'm just gonna be extremely blunt with the people balancing the raids, okay? You obviously don't play the game, and you obviously don't actually test anything with real characters that have real gear built by real players, okay? The biggest thing about bears was the fact that Savage Defense was the best thing because it absorbed one big hit, which was bosses. Really, like, to be completely, like, as blunt as possible, you can get away with basically anything in Mythics because it doesn't matter. It's super easy. You pop a cooldown, you're basically immortal, unless you have some sort of damage increasing mechanic on you or like a mortal strike, okay? Giving bears the ability to have Savage Defense affect more hits is not, you didn't need that, okay? So getting hit by many fast attacks, that's not what was killing bears. Bears were already the most blatantly pushed and overpowered tank possible. They had triple the HP, well, not triple the HP, but like double the HP of most things. They had, I mean, God, I've seen bears with 35,000 armor, 32,000 health, 5,500 AP, and their Savage Defense was already absorbing 4,000 damage, okay? So they had more health, like 40% chance to dodge, double the HP, triple the armor, and their Savage Defense was absorbing more than every other type of block or absorb mechanic they already had. So, like, you don't need to give bears more survivability. They already have enough. Too much, in fact. So, like, I'm glad that they're kind of spacing out the defense of Savage Defense, and it will help with lower geared tanks, which is awesome. So if anybody is like playing a bear tank and they feel like they're getting smashed, this might honestly help you. For the love of Jesus Christ, you need to actually test your own stuff because it's so apparent that you don't actually copy a character over and stand in front of a boss and get hit for 5 minutes to actually test stuff. Because if you did, like, an actual very, very well-geared, highly tuned bear, you wouldn't change them. You would keep them as they are and buff everything else. It's just ridiculous. Okay. New epic enchant, tainted swipe. Every 10 seconds, your swipe becomes tainted, inflicting the target with new nature damage over time effect while in bear form. Applying this effect generates bonus threat. Okay, cool. Infected wounds can now trigger from swipe. Cool. So the new mystic enchant will be great for bear and cat players who want to boost their AoE damage threat. Okay. Divine protection is now usable as shapeshifted. Perfect. Give bears even more more cooldowns to use. Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, Abandoned, you're gonna be so fucking happy, dude. Oh my God. Bloodthirst is now usable while shapeshifted. In damage, it's okay. Okay, so a Fury Warrior exclusive skill is now being able to use by a druid. Being off the global cooldown, Divine Protection has been used in bear builds for a while already by players comfortable with power shifting. I mean, yes, technically you could also use Shield Wall if you really wanted to, but I can promise you that most, if not all, really, really good bear tanks don't even bother because the risk of you shifting out of bear form for even a microsecond could get you completely crushed. So, yeah, okay. Feral's getting access to Bloodthirst. I mean, new classless ways of bear and cat rotation. I mean, yes, yeah, because they already scale AP a lot and they do scale bleed, so it might be worth. Okay, cool. Lastly, here are a few things worth highlighting. Berserk has now doubled the effect. Oh my God. Berserk now doubles the effectiveness of Savage Defense absorption while active. Okay, so depending on how they scale Savage Defenses, I mean, like, I've already seen bears absorbing 4,000, 4,500 damage with Savage Defense. If they even get 70% of that, so 3,000 of that, and having Berserk up, cool. Now they get a 6,000 damage absorption shield for 3 attacks. Yeah, good one, guys. Jesus Christ, dude. Feral Charge Bear now increase critical strike chance of your next bear ability by 10%. Cool. The Brutal Impact Capstone now always deals damage against monsters regardless of stun immunity, and now also triggers from Feral Charge. Okay. Feral Swiftness now also increases your movement speed while bear and in dire bear. Okay, so increases the cooldown of survival instincts by 50%. Whoa. That's pretty damn good. Okay, Nurturing Instinct now increases the healing take among cat and bear form by 10%. Does not stack, okay. This effect is tripled while survival instincts is active. Holy shit. In addition, increase your healing power. Okay. Damn, dude. Tripled? Bro. So they're gonna take even less damage and get healed for 3 times the amount they already were. Freaking sweet, dude. Yeah, bears definitely needed a buff, right? Staggering two-hand tanks. In a recent update, two-hand tanks learned to stagger not only physical, but also magical damage. Yeah, it was awesome. Together with their already powerful magic damage reduction in the talent, their ability to withstand magic damage is unparalleled. Correct. As their ability to stack high levels of avoidance, fully preventing incoming hits from ever reaching their target. Correct. Going into this update, two-hand tanks are generally more well-rounded and less in need of drastic changes than the other major tank archetypes. As such, the changes that are getting aren't as extreme. Okay. With the update to Mocking Blow and Iron Will, where the damage reduction has already been placed by a powerful stagger buff, the stagger clearing effect from the Undaunted legendary effect becomes even more powerful. This enchant is also getting another update. The cooldown reduction of Last Stand from the Undaunted legendary enchant no longer requires stagger to be active in order to trigger. Really? That's like the whole point of the RE. Okay. Like, guys, you're killing me. You're killing me. Like, that's the whole point of the RE, dude. Like, it would just be like if you took Shield of Righteous or Holy Shield, just be like, yeah, you can use it whenever you want. Like, whatever. Okay. With this, Undaunted will be a solid legendary option for other players interested in really staggering out, building around the stagger effect. I mean, yeah, I guess. Another iconic legendary also got a big update. Blade Master has been reworked. It now reads, after parrying attack, you become a Blade Master, increasing your expertise rating by 15% of your strength, 10 seconds. While active, your abilities become empowered. Devastate deals 50% additional damage to all nearby enemies and reduces targets' armor by an additional 10%. Proposed increased damage staggered by tactical mastery capstone by 20% for 5 seconds. Divine Storm increase your armor by 200% of your strength for 5 seconds. Okay. Blade Master can proc once every 3rd parry. Now, unlike other previous designs, the empowered abilities do not consume the buff. Are you serious? Okay. If you have several of these abilities, okay. So do we not get the same treatment with Crimson Champion? Or is it just going to consume the stacks and this one isn't? Okay. So you have 2 basically identical REs that just operate a little bit differently. You do a mechanic, you gain stacks, or you did gain stacks, it would consume them. So you didn't say that Crimson Champion didn't consume the stacks, and this one doesn't. So the shield tank version of this operates the same, but we can't benefit from it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Instead, you'll be able to jump into the fray and almost immediately gain the power of a Blade Master, provided that your parry chance is high enough, And even if your parry chance isn't that impressive, with the new short cooldown Mocking Blow, temporarily used a buff. Yeah. Aside from these legendary enchants, there are 2 more changes that will make life notably easier for those tanks. Thunderclap can now be used even when silenced. I mean, that's good. It's kind of stupid that it's coded to be a spell, even though it's a nature-based attack. It's kind of stupid. Staggered damage from the tactical mastery capstone is now removed upon leaving combat. This does not work for damage caused by players. Lastly, if you're one of those tanks who doesn't like to see your combo points going to waste, new epic enchant, Posing Combo. Your combo points can now be consumed by the following abilities, causing them to generate additional threat and to buff you for 2 seconds, plus an additional 2 seconds per combo point spent. Okay, so 12 seconds total. Divine Storm, increase your armor by 5%, totally useless. Victory Rush, increase your maximum health by 5%. That's good. Storm Strike, reduce your damage taken by 3%. Yeah, I guess since you can have all of them, for one RE, if you can maintain all 3 of them, that would be sick. The problem is most two-handed tanks, like the really, really hyper-focused ones, especially for Ascended difficulty, don't use Divine Storm or Storm Strike. They just don't use them. So I mean, 5% max health for those people. I don't know if that's worth an RE, but I guess if you're investing enough things to make Divine Storm, Victory Rush, and Storm Strike worth it in one spec, maybe this could be good enough. We'll have to see. Threat adjustments. Okay. This is the big one. With the poll results being so overwhelmingly in favor of making threat easier to manage, the threat modifiers of defensive stance and bear form were immediately increased. As a result, holding aggro as a tank became easier and dungeon and raids clear got smoother. The overall feedback to the threat increase was overwhelmingly positive, but some top-end players also expressed concerns about the threat becoming too easy to manage. Yeah. Removing depth from the most competitive parts of the game and needlessly making it easier. Making progress through Ascended Raids should be challenging, and for the reason, the threat buffs in the update will not apply in Ascended difficulty. Okay. With righteous... Wait. Hold on. Threat buffs in this update will not apply in Ascended... Okay. So I was under the impression that everything that increased the threat of all the stuff mentioned before wouldn't be, but it must be these things down here. Okay. With Righteous Fury becoming its own archetypal tank stance, it is now exclusive with defensive stance and bear form. This has two major implications. Firstly, creating a tank that implores magic damage will no longer require you to roll both Righteous Fury and another tank spec. It would be kind of annoying to have to roll both of them on seasonal, but I mean, if you could make an RE that may take advantage of both, sure. Secondarily, those tanks who relied on stacking the magic increase of Righteous Fury on top of the baseline threat increase of defensive stance or bear form will no longer be able to. Okay, here are the threat-related changes coming with this update. Righteous Fury is now exclusive tanking. Yep, increase the threat modifiers of defense and bear form by 10%. Okay, this does not apply in Ascended Raids. Righteous Fury now increases your threat by a significant amount. The threat increase, similar to defensive stance, Righteous Fury proxy gives 15% more magical threat and 10% less physical threat, okay? The epic enchants increasing your magical threat by 25%, such as Lurking Shadows, have been turned into unique rare enchants, giving magic-based tanks more freedom to pick epic enchants to suit their build. With these changes, keeping aggro as a tank will be somewhat easier than before. This offsets the fact that surviving sphere smashes will take some of your attention away from threat and toward staying alive. At the same time, magic-based tanks will be able to build, easier to build, and will not need to invest as heavily to keep threat. Okay, before moving on, again, this whole thing, there's one underlying problem that is not being addressed, that is being expressed in the circles that I play with, and anyone who plays in any kind of higher-end raid guild. Threat was never a problem when the misdirect thing was in the game. You could chain misdirects, wasn't that big of a deal, okay? You took that out. That was fine. Then you increased threat of the tanks as a baseline. Okay, so it's getting a little bit easier to manage. The biggest problem, and again, I think this comes down to the fact that you guys are just simply not playing the game in the way that it needs to be able to find these things. Baseline threat is not increasing at the same rate for tanks as it is for DPS. DPS threat output as gear gets better increases at a substantially, and I mean substantially increased rate over what a tank's threat output is with newer gear. I would probably imagine going from tier 4 to full tier 6 in a tank, just on my shield tank build. I may gain 15% threat just due to increased stats and some other stuff, okay? It's not really going to increase all that much. But right now, we have people already doing 16, 17, 18k DPS if we really push it and it's like a patchwork fight. If someone's going to be starting to push 35,000, 40,000 in T6 and in like Sunwell, we are never going to be able to catch that as a tank. So while there is potential for it to be easier, you're not addressing the real problem. You're not increasing threat on tanks at the same coefficient as you are DPS as gear gets better. If you don't address that, none of this will matter, okay? And especially since it doesn't apply in Ascended difficulty. So keep that in mind when you make more tank changes in the future, okay? Bolster defenses and other future updates. Given the sheer scope of this update, not only are the new Fear Smash mechanics, but also do sweeping tank change archetype changes we'll get into soon. Many of these changes will undoubtedly need further tweaks and adjustments. Expect many and frequent adjustments based on your feedback as we move further into this uncharted territory together. One issue that came up during internal testing was difficulty of dealing with Fear Smashes on encounters where the tank has to, or chooses to, fight multiple bosses at once, like when fighting the 3 Drakes of Blackwing Lair or Scarum in clones in AQ. Okay, to deal with that, successfully mediating Fear Smash now gives you a 20% second buff called Bolstered Defenses. While active, you'll be immune to applications of Fierce Smash debuff. This strategy is where one tank takes on multiple bosses at once will still be possible if your tank is up to the challenge. It's likely that further changes akin to the addition of Bolstered Defenses will be necessary. Beyond that, there will be definitely room for further changes to improve and expand the system, making it more polished and inviting more variety. We hope you can rely on your feedback so we can get through this together. One of the changes in this article, live to be expanded on, blah, blah, blah. Fierce Smash being implemented in other types of content, such as Mythic Dungeons. That is going to be horrendous. Before we move on, that is going to be absolutely horrible. So, Mythic Dungeons are already just a chaotic clusterfuck. The reason being is because it kind of goes back to that threat thing, okay? You cannot train most people to not just go full ham, like right off the pole. So you're running around as a tank half the time unless you like structure your group and be like, please LOS here, please let me get threat, whatever. If you communicate, it's not that big of a problem. But most tanks and most groups, like most people, are antisocial and they don't want to talk. And I've actually had groups, 3 people, leave the group because I simply asked them, can you please stand right here? And then I get a message saying like, it doesn't matter, dude. Quit being such an elitist or something stupid like that. So introducing a stacking damage mechanic into Mythic Dungeons when you're not only fighting the dungeon, you're also kind of fighting your party is going to be horrendous, especially in Mythic Pluses. So my suggestion, leave it out of Mythics. Don't even put it in Mythics. It is going to be such a fucking nightmare. Updates to make active mitigation abilities more dynamic, quite possibly to move them more interactive with things like rotation-based cooldown reduction, full cooldown resets, blah, blah, blah. More active mitigation, blah, blah. Encounter-specific updates for Fierce Smash. So encounter-specific updates for Fierce Smash. That is a good sign, okay? Going, like, I really just want to drive this home, okay? On release, Fathom Lord Krathus was hitting our bear tank, who had, I think, 35,000 armor, 68% physical mitigation, and Voidwalker and all this stuff, full buffs. He was hitting him for like 9 to 10k. If you increase the base damage of that by 50%, and God forbid he has like 1 to 2 stacks of crushed, I know he's been changed and nerfed and the numbers have been adjusted since then, and gear has gotten a little bit better since we did it on our very first week, but yeah. And encounter specific updates, you might want to ask the people specifically who are actually doing it, like within the first week or two, because they're going to give you all the data you ever want, because we do logs, everyone takes logs, we have video, we theory craft a lot, so please ask us. Like, we give suggestions, but if you're really concerned, reach out to them. We want to help you, believe me. Okay? So, release date and other noteworthy changes. As usual, the full changelog will drop when the changes are released. This is planned for Thursday, the 23rd of December. This article has gone through most of the notable changes, but so that you can fully prepare yourself what's to come, here's a couple more changes that didn't make it into the discussion. Okay, let's get through this. The Savage Defense Mystic Enchant now increases the attack power scaling of Savage Defense by 1% of your attack power down from 3. Okay. So it's overall changed. That's, see, it's not though. That's the thing. Since the overall thing has, so it's not, it's actually weaker because adding 3% into one charge will give you higher mitigation than 1% over 3 charges because you're reducing the total damage you take by a higher value in that one hit. And getting Savage Defense up already wasn't even an issue, so it's actually going to be a reduction in defense in the long run. New Capstone improves Mangle. Your Mangle reduced the cooldown of your Enrage and Tiger Sphere by 3 seconds. This effect has 3-second cooldown. Cool. Feral Charge Bear. Now I'll increase your bear. Yep. Shield Mastery. Now increase your block value by 10 to 20%. And increase the damage done by your shield slam by 15%. And now requires defensive stance. Damn, okay. So shield mastery is getting some extra love. 20% block value and more damage on my shield slam? Hell yeah, dude. Let's go. The shield mastery mystic enchant now increase your block chance by 2% and the threat generated by your shield slam by 5%. Bro, what? Yo, are you serious though? We get 15% more threat on our shield slam. Yes, dude. My shield slams are going to do like 70,000 threat on a crit. Oh, man, I'm looking forward to that so much. Oh, dude. Improved Righteous Fury now increase the total armor bonus you gain from Righteous Fury by an additional 9%, reducing damage. Yep. Baleful Hammer now increase the duration of your Holy Shield by 1 second when dealing damage with Hammer Righteous. Ooh, that's better? Question mark? I mean, getting 1 more second on that is not gonna be that great? Maybe, we'll see. Libram of Repentance has been reworked. No! Libram of Repentance now grants 84 block value, changed from 42 block value. Whoa, hold on. It got buffed, it got doubled. Yo, really? Okay. Are you serious? Oh, block rating. Oh, God. Okay, I misread. I was like, bro, we just got double the block chance from it. Okay. Liberate Repentance no longer increases block chance while holy. Yeah, okay. Okay, so getting 84 block value, that's actually pretty good. Block rating was good because it was just like an extra free 5% chance to block when you had Holy Shield on. I like how they said Crimson Champion not active, so that was like the biggest thing is like you'd have Crimson Champion and this thing, and in one RE and one gear slot, you'd have 15% chance to free chance to block. So more block value for my Bulwark. Sweet, I'll take it. Uncommon Mystican chance like Hasty Holy Shield and Taunting Mocking Blow have been depreciated due to the new active mitigation. Okay, I mean, I would like you to maybe take out REs of stuff that just literally doesn't work. Like, you know, damage over time on your, on like your summoning stones and stuff. I know you guys used the algorithm way back in like TBC Alpha to just mass produce REs, and a lot of the crappy ones that literally don't work are still in the game, and there's still REs that you can roll on gear for abilities that don't physically work, like Brand of Sacrifice and stuff. So, I mean, I'm glad you're taking some of them out, but you got a lot you need to take. Sanctified Light now also increases the amount healed by your holy criticals. Okay, Bulwark now teaches you shield block. Bulwark, if you know shield block instead of being transformed. This means you can still use shield block, just not at the same unit. Oh, really? Wait. Oh, okay. You give Paladins, and I'm glad you are, because I really love Paladin tanks, honestly, over Bot Warriors, but your design philosophy is inconsistent. You give Paladins Crimson Champion, which is essentially the holy version of Bulwark now, and they can use Holy Shield, but now, as a Bulwark tank, you can't use shield block. Like, be consistent with your design philosophy, please. If you're going to make two abilities that might have different wording, but are literally just supposed to be opposite spectrum things of each other, make sure the design philosophy is consistent. It's so dumb. Okay. A Manaforge's future. Lastly, a small teaser from something in the works. I have heard about this, and I am super, super excited. Another even more groundbreaking tank archetype will soon make its way to Ascension using a permanent type of mana shield. Yes! This caster tank will dip into their huge mana pools to absorb incoming damage and stay alive. The mana shield now also protects them against effects that would interrupt their spellcast, allowing them to unleash their full magic potential on their foes. So in one of my videos, I talked about making a mana shield RE that will, like, it reduce the damage lost or mana lost when you get hit with it. So that was like a way to maybe make prop paladins better. That's awesome that they're actually finally doing something, and specifically with mana shield. That's exactly what I wanted. That's really cool. What path? Okay, aside from the desire of a high mana leading to towards stacking large amounts of intellect, this design for the new tank very open-ended, allowing you to choose how you play it. What path will you take? Okay. God, that was a lot. That was like almost an hour. If you've made it this far, I want to give you guys just like all the props. Man, there's so much here. I'll have to, again, like I said, I'm gonna make another follow-up video going over the big points of it and what I could see working, what can't, and what I can already tell is gonna be a problem and what's really good. My first initial thought, you guys have done a really good job of like wanting to change tanking fundamentally. My only concern, and please don't get offended by this, it's coming from a place of love for your game. After playing Conquest of Azeroth for so long, it's nice having defined classes the classless fantasy, while on paper and in theory sounds really good, I think you guys are taking it too liberally. You're trying to make too many things that just like at its very core fundamental, like absolutely bare fundamentals of the game, unless you change coding and lots of other things I could go into, but I'm not going to because it's already been a long time in this video. Certain things just will never work. And I know I've memed about the Sinister Strike thing with Kaladin, and I don't know if you take it personally, but please don't, man. I do it all in jest. Please understand that, but I think you're taking the classless fantasy of Ascension too liberally. You need to kind of pull the reins back. We'll have to see how all this changes, but I can almost tell you now, depending on how they scale Ascended TK, because in Heroic, not that challenging. The tanks weren't really taking that much damage. It was all right from our testing as a guild. Depending on how they scale Ascended, like how we dealt with in SSC, the only people who are probably still going to be able to tank is bears, because for some reason you're buffing them again. I don't understand this. So with the change to these active mitigation things, the problem you're going to run into is what happens when you don't have any CDs. I already run 6 cooldowns on my shield tank, and I still don't feel like I have enough. So I'm going to have to either A, sacrifice threat talents and threat abilities, B, utilities like blink, disengage, other like cleanse and things like that. These things that we take during fights that need them. Well, if I have to take all of these, and I'm assuming they're not going to be cheap on the ability essence. I'm assuming some of these are going to be 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6. We are going to be even more threadbare for ability essences. So I'm so hopeful, and I want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt, but I'm also extremely nervous. So we'll have to see how this works out. That's going to be it for this, guys. Thank you again for listening. Keep an eye out for the next video where I go into some more concise thoughts on the goods and bads of this. But for now, you guys enjoy the rest of the night. Subscribe below for more content if you haven't already. I will see you in the next one.